My wife slept with men from a bar, claiming she deserved it for having a baby, so I gave her payback. I'm 32, male, and I married my wife, Janet, 26, female, 3 years ago. We have a 7-month-old daughter. A couple of days back, I found something in her bag that blew my mind. It was a pack of condoms. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who checks his wife's bag. I respect her privacy. But this time, it was urgent. Janet was in the shower, and I needed a diaper to change our baby. I had already placed her on the changing table when I realized we were out of diapers. I remember Janet usually keeps a few extras in her handbag when she takes the baby for walks. Her bag was lying right there by the baby counter, so I grabbed it. I opened it, and sure enough, I found 2 diapers inside. But as I pulled one out, something else fell to the floor. A pack of condoms. It was a pack of 3, but only one was left. The packet was already open. I looked inside the bag, hoping maybe the other 2 had just slipped out, but no, they were gone. Meaning, 2 had been used. My baby was crying loudly, so I stuffed the condom packet into my pocket and focused on changing her. But my head was spinning. When Janet came out of the shower, I calmly placed the baby in the crib, pulled out the condom packet, and asked her about it. That's when the actor in her kicked in. She looked me dead in the eye and denied it. Said it wasn't hers. Then she tried to gaslight me, asking if I was trying to frame her. I told her I'd found it in her bag. She laughed, actually laughed, and said, "But you just pulled it out of your pocket, right?" I lost it. I told her to stop playing games and just admit it. Then she rolled her eyes, smirked, and said, "Oh, poor you. Look at your puppy face. I was messing with you." She winked. It was obvious she was lying. We don't use protection, she's breastfeeding and hasn't gotten her period back, so we haven't needed it. Now, suddenly, she claimed her cycle had returned and maybe we need to be careful. I asked, "Okay, then where are the other 2 condoms?" "There was just one left in the pack." She shrugged and said, "Funny story, actually. Yesterday I went out with friends. A guy was hitting on my friend, Kyle. Things got heated. They didn't have protection, so I gave them to..." I stared at her in disbelief. She said I could call Kyle to confirm. But I didn't. Because if she was lying, Kyle would be in on it too. So what was the point? I told her straight up. I don't buy that crap. Be honest. Now. But she just turned it around on me. She started crying. Saying I didn't trust her. That I didn't understand her. That she just had a baby and was going through postpartum depression, and now I was accusing her of cheating? I didn't try to make things up with her. I left it as it was. But since then, she's made the environment tense. She's curled up in bed, in the dark, refusing to eat, or even switch on the lights. Says she can't stand the brightness. I don't know what she does when I'm not home, but this is what I come back to every day. Usually, I'm the one who breaks the silence after fights. I'm the one who apologizes first. Because, let's face it, how many women say sorry first? But this time? I just don't feel like it. I don't think I did anything wrong by confronting her. So, what do you guys think? Could I have handled it differently? Because if postpartum depression is her get-out-of-jail-free card for handing out condoms like Halloween candy, maybe it's time for a different kind of delivery, a reality check. Although, I'll admit, her excuse game is stronger than her commitment to honesty. Maybe next time, I should pack my own emergency condom in the diaper bag. Who knows? Maybe one day she'll pull out a clown nose and say it's for stress relief. Update 1. Thank you for engaging with my post. You guys were right. She waved a red flag right in front of my face. And no, I didn't let it slide. Some of you asked for more context about Janet, so here it is. We've known each other for over 6 years. We met at a friend's party. She was easily the most gorgeous woman there. We hit it off instantly, talking, dancing, laughing all night. But I forgot to ask for her number. I'm not a party person, but it was my buddy's promotion celebration. He basically dragged me there. I asked him about Janet later, and he said he didn't really know her, she was a colleague's friend. I begged him to help me find her number. He hesitated, didn't want his colleagues to think he was hitting on her. But after a lot of convincing, he got it for me. I held on to it for a week before texting. I didn't want to come across as desperate or weird. I mean, she was gorgeous. I'm sure there were plenty of men at that party who wanted her number. Nonetheless, I mustered the courage and messaged her. Luckily, she replied, said she actually regretted not asking for my number. From there, we hit it off. At the time, she was working a part-time job. She told me she didn't want a full-time one because it required too much commitment. She said she liked to live freely on her terms. That should have been a red flag. But I didn't see it that way. I was neck-deep in work, burnout, and not enjoying a single second of it. The idea of being free, like her, clicked for me. After dating for 2 years, I proposed. We got married in a small ceremony with just family and close friends. Janet didn't want a grand wedding. She said she'd rather spend that money on a vacation. So, that's what we did, a 15-day trip through Europe right after the wedding. A year and a half into our marriage, Janet got pregnant. She freaked out. It wasn't part of the plan. We had dreams, traveling the world together, living wild and free before settling down with kids. She wanted to get rid of it. I was devastated. I've always wanted to be a father. But I respected her choices. I never pressured her into pregnancy. When she got pregnant unexpectedly, I tried to convince her to keep the baby. She was torn. But in the end, she chose to keep it. Pregnancy is tough on women, physically and emotionally. And since I was the one who encouraged her to go through with it, I knew I had to step up. I did everything I could to make her comfortable. Thankfully, the pregnancy went smoothly. But that didn't stop the mood swings. The tantrums. And I took it all, happily. Because this was her time. But after the baby came, things went downhill. I figured maybe it was just the lack of sleep, or the stress of nursing. But she spiraled. She became more irritable, more distant. She said she felt trapped, caged. Like she'd lost her freedom. So I took her to therapy. The doctor diagnosed her with postpartum depression, said it was normal after childbirth. I did everything to give her space. I even hired a full-time nanny so she could have time for herself. When our daughter was just 2 months old, Janet resumed her old life, clubbing, bar nights, hanging out with her friends until late. I didn't stop her. The therapist had said, "A happy mom nurtures a happy baby." Now, 7 months later, I find a condom in her bag. And she's throwing her best friend under the bus to save her pretty little butt. Update. As I mentioned earlier, Janet tried her best to gaslight the hell out of me. But this time, I didn't give in. I told her, flat out, if you think you can put on an act and get away with it, you're wrong. I told her I wasn't letting this go until I got the truth. Because the story she gave me? That was pure, unfiltered BS. But she wouldn't talk. So I started digging on my own. I wanted to check her phone. But that was damn near impossible. She guards her phone like it's a nuclear briefcase. Even when she sleeps, it's either under her pillow or clutched to her side. She's always been like that. And honestly, I never questioned it before. But now, that phone probably holds every answer I need. Still, I couldn't just ask to see it. She'd make a scene about how I don't trust her, and flip it all back on me. So now I'm stuck. I don't know how to get the evidence I need, because this woman clearly has no conscience, and she's not about to confess. Any suggestions? I'm open. If Janet's guarding her phone like it's got launch codes, maybe it's time to go full James Bond. Distraction tactics? Maybe. Like handing the baby a shiny toy, and while Janet's busy wrangling our curious daughter, I could grab the phone. Or the classic move. Oops, I spilled my drink on your phone. Let me grab some paper towels. Of course, that plan comes with a side of risk, and possibly the need for a pre-packed suitcase and a one-way ticket to somewhere lies and betrayal don't follow. In this game of cat and mouse, sometimes the mouse has to get creative to outwit the cat. Just gotta make sure the trapdoor doesn't swing back on me. Because Janet? She's not just hiding her phone. She's hiding a whole bag of tricks. Update 2. Thanks for the advice. A lot of you suggested I hire a private investigator, and I was just about to, but before that, I found a way myself. One Sunday, I just randomly thought of stalking Janet's social media accounts. From a public view, I couldn't find anything, but then, her picture with her best friend Kyle caught my eye. I clicked on Kyle's profile. Turns out, she's married. And she has a toddler. That threw me. Because the other day, Janet had told me Kyle was making out with some guy at a bar, and needed the condoms. I paused and thought, wait a minute. Does Kyle's husband know about this? I walked up to Janet, playing it cool. I said, "Hey, I'm sorry I doubted you about the condom thing. I trust you. If you say it was Kyle, then yeah, I believe you." She smiled. Then I asked, "So, does Kyle do this often?" She nodded and began listing stories. Stories of Kyle hitting on guys at bars, getting drunk, flirting shamelessly. I listened. I didn't know if any of it was true, or if Janet was just building an alibi. When she finished giggling through yet another, funny, Kyle story, I dropped the bomb. I said, "Well, that's funny, because Kyle is married. And doesn't she have a toddler? Are you girls supporting her cheating now? Does her husband know about this?" Janet froze. Like someone had thrown her into a freezer. Then came the babbling. No, no, no! That's not what I meant. It's just healthy flirting. Nothing more." I raised an eyebrow. "You just said she needed condoms. Why would anyone need condoms for healthy flirting?" She hesitated. "Oh. Did I say Kyle? My bad, stupid pregnancy brain. I meant Kay, my single friend. She's the one goofing around. Kyle's the sober one. She doesn't do all that stuff." At this point, I was in awe of how smoothly this woman could rewrite reality. I chuckled. "I caught you. You don't have to save Kyle's butt. Are you scared I'll tell her husband the truth?" She panicked. "Yes. Please don't do that. It would ruin their marriage. They have a baby. She loves her husband dearly. It was just meaningless sex, nothing more." But I knew. She wasn't protecting Kyle. She was protecting herself. Everything she said about Kyle, those were her stories. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Well, I don't feel good about Kyle cheating on her husband. I think I'm going to tell him everything." That's when Janet snapped. She screamed, "Why are you acting like a saint? Who are you to do the moral policing here?" I shrugged. "I'm not listening to anything. I'm going to tell him." Her rage melted into sobs. She broke down. I could feel she was this close to confessing. But I wasn't ready for it. Not yet. I stormed into my room and locked the door. She was not going to get away with her infidelity just by crying and confessing. No. I wanted her to pay. This wasn't just a betrayal of me. It was betrayal of our marriage, our family, and every bit of trust one had given her. So I took it a step further. I texted Kyle on Instagram. I told her, "Janet told me about your dirty little secret." She was shocked. I could sense it in how fast she left me on read. But a few moments later, Janet's phone rang. Then came the banging on my door. Janet was crying, yelling, "Why are you doing this to me? Open the door! Why are you destroying everything? Why can't you trust me?" She was still on the phone. I heard her yell, "He's not opening the door! God knows what he's up to!" A minute later, Kyle called me. She asked me to please listen to Janet first. I told her no. I was done listening. I told her the next thing I would do was send the recordings to her husband, the ones of Janet talking about Kyle's affairs. She freaked out. "No! Please don't do that!" And then, she blurted it out. She said, "Whatever Janet said, it wasn't my story. It was hers. She's been cheating on you for over 4 months." I asked, "Why didn't you stop her?" Kyle sighed. We tried. I did. The girls did. But Janet kept saying she deserved it. That she gave you a beautiful baby, and now she wanted pleasure in return. It hit me like a truck. But my gut had known all along. Kyle was telling the truth. Still, I wasn't done. I wanted to cut off every support system Janet had. I asked Kyle to come over, with her husband. I know. That may seem harsh. But I wanted him to know what kind of friend his wife had, and why she should stay away from her. Kyle agreed. But she begged me not to show the recordings. She said Janet was such a good storyteller that her husband might actually believe the lies. I agreed. An hour later, Kyle arrived. I stayed in my room until I heard Janet screaming at her. Why are you here? I told you I'd handle it. Go away. I'm dealing with this. Kyle shouted back. Handle it? You framed me. It was chaos. Both women screaming. Then Kyle's husband stepped in. He looked at Janet. Tell us your side. Kyle gave Janet a death glare, silently warning, don't you dare lie again. Janet sobbed. And then, she confessed. She confessed. Everything she had told me, the bar hookups, the flings, the stories she pinned on Kyle, they weren't Kyle's. They were hers. She had been picking up men from bars and sleeping with them. Kyle's husband was stunned. He stood there, staring at Janet like she was a stranger, a witch, in his words. Someone who could not only cheat on her husband, but throw a friend under the bus to save her own skin. He turned to Kyle and shouted, This is the kind of friend you've been hanging out with. She almost wrecked our marriage. Janet stood frozen in shame. After she was done with her sobbing confession, Kyle and her husband stood up. No more words. No more sympathy. Kyle looked Janet straight in the eye and said, Don't you ever contact me again. I love my husband. I love my family. And you are not worth losing them. Janet tried to grab her hand, begging, crying. But Kyle shrugged her off like a coat she no longer wanted to wear, and walked away. When they left, Janet turned to me with red, swollen eyes and asked, Are you happy now? What did you gain by humiliating me in front of my friends? Is this what men do? I glared at her. The woman card isn't going to work anymore. You've already played all your cards: pregnancy, postpartum, the victim sob story. Now it's time you face the consequences. I paused. And by the way, this humiliation? It's only halfway. You've got a lot more coming. I walked into the guest room, slammed the door, and called my lawyer. I told him I wanted full custody of my daughter. He listened and said, Gather all the evidence. Every late night. Every party. Every guy. Every moment of negligence. We were going to build the case on child safety, that it wasn't safe for a child to live in a house where new men could walk in every week. I didn't know how strong the legal odds were. But emotionally, I was ready for war. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about protecting my daughter. And guess what? Janet's house of lies, her perfect, curated image, it collapsed like a Jenga tower in an earthquake. All it took was one move, checking her social media, then pressing, step by step. And now? Her secrets were out. Sure, she cried. She tried to flood the house with crocodile tears. But no amount of sobbing could erase the wreckage she left behind. Now, the real battle was beginning. The legal battle. A high-stakes game of custody, not for hotels on Park Place, but for something far more important, my daughter's future. Janet? She could play the victim all she wanted. But I had evidence. I had truth. And I was ready to bring out the entire deck against her. Update 3. Sorry, I had to delete my last update. In it, I accidentally revealed my lawyer's strategy for getting full custody. When I met with him after posting it, he asked me to take it down immediately. No loose ends, he said. Now that things are over, I can finally share more. After that night, I slept in the guest bedroom. Minimal interaction with Janet. No emotions. No eye contact. She tried everything. She made me breakfast and dinner. I ignored it. She baked a sorry cake, complete with flowers and a handwritten apology card. I tossed them aside. She thought my anger would wear off. That I'd get over it. She had no idea what was coming. Almost a month later, my lawyer arrived, with the divorce papers. When Janet got served, she lost it. Tears. Panic. Desperation. "What are you doing? How could you do this to me?" After the attorney left, I looked her in the eye and said, "Pack your stuff. Leave." She cried, begged. "Please, for the sake of our baby. Don't end this." She tried to hug me. I pushed her away. She stammered, "I have nowhere to go." I smirked. "Not my problem anymore. I gave you everything you ever wanted. Now I'm going to give you what you deserve. And you deserve to be on the streets." She threatened me. "I'll take every last penny you have." I laughed. "Good luck hiring a lawyer. The good ones aren't free, unless you plan on spreading your legs again to pay them." She stormed toward our daughter's nursery. I stood in the doorway. "Whoa! You're not getting her." She broke down again. "You're ripping her away from me," I replied. "You were never interested in being a mother. You wanted a free life? You got it. I'm freeing you from all responsibility. Go live it, far from us." She packed her bags and left. As for my daughter? My lawyer built a strong case: full-time nanny, work-from-home flexibility, and proof after proof of Janet's recklessness. But it turned out Janet didn't even try to fight for custody. She wasn't keen on keeping the baby. So here I am now, divorced, with my daughter in my arms. And no regrets. Maybe all of this started with a condom in a diaper bag. But it ended with me becoming a father who stood up for what was right. And I'll never let my little girl grow up thinking that betrayal is love, or that lies can go unpunished. If you've read this far, thank you. And if you're in a situation like mine, trust your gut. And when you're done trusting it, fight. Like hell. For truth. For justice. And for your child. She didn't have a house. She didn't have a job. So when it came to the custody battle, she didn't even fight. But when it came to alimony, she went bonkers. She tried to squeeze me for as much as she could. Demanded an absurd amount, as if she were some kind of wronged royal in exile. I can't disclose the exact figure, for legal reasons, but let's just say I paid far less than she was hoping for, and it was worth every penny to get her the hell out of my life. Clean break. No more lies. No more manipulation. Just peace, and my daughter. One day, Kyle and her husband stopped by to check in on the baby. Kyle looked different. Lighter. Freer. She apologized for not telling me earlier about Janet's affairs. She said she tried to stop Janet. Tried to talk her out of it. Tried to protect the baby. But Janet wouldn't listen. Kyle was actually relieved that I got full custody. She told me Janet had always complained about how fussy and cranky the baby was, how hard it was to be a mom. She said Janet exaggerated the postpartum stuff, used it as a cover for her resentment, not actual pain. Kyle's husband told me that Janet had recently reached out to them, looking for a place to stay. He chased her away without a second thought. Since then, she'd been couch surfing, drinking even more, wrecking what little was left of her life. I just shrugged. I didn't care anymore. Let her sink in her own mess. I was done trying to save someone who didn't want saving. Kyle and her husband offered to babysit if I ever needed help. I thanked them, truly. But I told them it wasn't necessary. My parents had moved in to help. We also had a full-time nanny. My daughter was thriving. And for once, I was too. Will I ever let my daughter meet her mother? Maybe. One day. But not now. Right now she's safe. She's happy. And she's got a dad who will protect her no matter what. So yeah, it's not a fairy tale. It's not happily ever after. But it is real. And peaceful. And sometimes? That's even better. Janet's off gallivanting through the land of couch cushions and cheap booze, a modern-day cautionary tale in the making. As for her alimony dreams? Let's just say she's about as likely to get that money as she is to win the lottery while riding a unicorn on fire. But hey, consistency is a skill. And if there's one thing Janet excels at, it's consistently making bad decisions. So here's to you, OP, for braving the storm, for choosing your daughter over your pride, and for surviving betrayal without losing your soul. May your days be filled with giggles, diaper changes, and sleepy cuddles at 2 a.m. And may Janet's spiral serve as a warning to those who think they can cheat and manipulate their way through life without consequences. Cheers. You've earned every ounce of peace that now fills your home. If this were a video confession, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and smash that notification bell so you don't miss the next wild Reddit story. See you next time.